Thank you for joining us here on the National Communications Network as we discuss Budget 2024, which we know is under the theme Staying the Course, Building Prosperity for All. Joining me for this discussion is the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, the Honorable Hugh Todd. Minister Todd, thank you so much for joining me.
And thank you for having me.
Minister, $1.146 trillion, that is the total of Budget 2024. Share with us your overall thoughts on this year's budget.
Well, first of all, let me begin by picking up on the theme that you've introduced, and that's the theme for the budget 2024.
Yeah.
When you look at the theme, it speaks squarely to the President's vision for 2030, and we're just about halfway of that. And when you look at the progress we've made since taking office August of 2020, and the commitments that we've made prior to getting into office, and those promises fulfilled, you can see that we're on an upward growth trajectory. So the budget that we have this year is fitting of the growth and prosperity that we've achieved over the last 3 years in office. And that shows that we've been consistent. It shows that we're delivering on our promises. It also shows that the President has a very clear vision and understanding of how to move this economy. And might I add also that when you think about the budget, you have to also be reminded that the President is very focused on ensuring that the policies are influenced by the numbers. So it's no mismatch. It's a carefully thought out agenda that matches the development of this country, and it's done in a very balanced way. So when we talk about prosperity, we're talking about balanced development, and it's always centered around the citizen. And if you look at the message from the Minister of Finance, it talks about treating with the population from conception to old age. So it's very inclusive. No one is excluded from this budget. And it's always centered around the individual, because we believe that if you're going to create prosperity, you have to have balanced development, and you have to have a budget that is centered around the citizenry.
Yeah. Minister, you under your purview is foreign affairs and international cooperation. Can you tell us a little bit of, or tell us what the policy focus is and is going to be like in 2024 for your ministry?
Well, the President has made it very clear what our foreign policy agenda is. And it's centered around 3 pillars. It's climate security, food security, and energy security. And if you look at those 3 foreign policy priorities, they also feed into our regional priorities and the multilateral priorities. So we are properly placed within the regional and global environment. And you can see the leadership of President Ali and his government when it comes to those priorities, because those are our national priorities,
Right.
but they also are compatible with our regional and global priorities.
Indeed. One of the questions that may be lingering on the minds of Guyanese, Minister Todd, coming out of 2023 is Guyana's posture. And I would be happy for you to take some time to explain what Guyana's posture will be like going into 2024, or as we are now in 2024, in relation to the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy.
First of all, let me begin by saying that the President's leadership of Guyana since taking office has squarely positioned Guyana as a global leader. And if you look at our initiatives and our assumption at the level of the regional level as well as the multilateral level. So, for example, we've assumed an non-permanent seat at the United Nations Security Council. That is the leadership, that's the highest leadership, institutional leadership body in the world.
Yeah.
We're there right now. The President is going to be at the United Nations in February of this year, where we'll be chairing the Security Council. We are also the chair of CARICOM. We have the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting February of this year, 25th to 28th. That's leadership again there. We are hosting the FAO regional summit here in Georgetown, March 21st to 25th, I believe. So we have brand recognition as a country, and that is because of the leadership of the president of the government of Guyana. And we are very capable. We're small, but we're very competent, and we are pleased that we're able to play not only a vital role for the people of Guyana, but also by extension for our leadership in CARICOM and our leadership within the regional community, and by extension our leadership in the global environment.
And particularly in relation to the border controversy that we are at, can we say that Guyana will continue in 2024 and beyond to maintain that posture of peace and in dealing with this in a diplomatic manner?
But of course, so you've seen that when it comes to our leadership and our position on the controversy that Venezuela has with Guyana over the validity of the 1899 Arbitral Award, we've always been on the right side of international law, always. We've always focused on having that controversy that they have over the validity of that award. We focused on having it done peacefully, using the right process, and ensuring that the diplomatic channels are open, that there is dialogue, that there is communication, and there is mutual respect and understanding for our sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Yeah, we've seen massive investment in a lot of the capital projects in health, in education, and in a number of areas to ensure that construction is being done in road infrastructure and stuff like that. But there's also the soft balance of the measures in the increase of the Because We Care cash grant. How have you seen government being able to manage and balance these two important areas of life?
It's understanding governance and understanding how to grow and move an economy. It's very complex because you have to deal with matters of the household, of the community, of a county, and then you have to look at the macro level, the country as a whole. So it's not easy. It's very complex, and you have to be able to be measured. You have to be able to manage expectations, and you have to be able to consult and to ensure that the priorities of the people are your priorities of government. So dealing with governance itself that feeds into how you put together your budget and the resources that you allocate to the budget requires a lot of work, a lot of consultations. It requires a lot of interest and commitment to service. So what we're doing is fulfilling the mandate of the people, serving the people in the best way we can, using the resources available. Of course, resources are always, as economists would well say, the resources are always limited. But in our case, we have the know-how because we've been in government for 23 years prior to 2015, and even in opposition for 28 years, we were always prepared for government. It just so happened that we've had a very difficult period during those 28 years having to deal with dictatorship. But now that we have an economy that has embraced democracy and democratic principles and values, it opens up a lot of space for us to be able to govern, for us to be transparent, to be accountable to the people, and to ensure that there's a rules-based society where we all respect the rules and that we are able to fulfill the mandate that we have gotten from the people. So consultations happen at every level, at the community level, and you've seen, and the president would have made this commitment to the electorate even prior to getting into office, that we will remain on the ground. We will continue to dialogue and to communicate with you and to meet with you in person to ensure that we can connect with you, because the people know what they need more than us. They know what they need. So we have to be able to meet and in some cases exceed their expectations. And we have to do it in a balanced way, because what may be a priority for, let's say, people of Region 10 or a section of persons in Region 10 may not be the priority of someone in Crabwood Creek, Region 6. that may not be their priority. So you have to be able to understand the nuances, and you have to be able to deliver on that. But when you think about the overall structure, we know exactly what it takes to ensure that we can improve lives and the quality, well, improve the quality of life and standard of living of the people. You have to ensure that they have good health care. That's why we're building out a world-class healthcare system, education, and you can see what the moves that we've made in terms of education. People have to be able to acquire their own homes, and you've seen what we've done in the housing sector. You have to be able to create a conducive environment where there are opportunities for jobs, right? So your policy making should feed into that,
Yeah.
so that people can be employed and be very active participants within society. So we want people to not only be educated, we want them to be healthy, because you need a healthy and an educated population to be able to progress. And the president would always say that the priority is really the people. Without people, you don't have an economy. So the investment, when you look at the budget, the investment is really squarely in the people. And we've never removed ourselves from our core objective, the People's Progressive Party Civic. It is about the working class. If you can transform the lives of the ordinary citizen, everyone benefits. So our priority is to ensure that we can lift people out of poverty and to create a larger and more robust middle class. You get that, you get a society that is advanced, you get a society that can think, that can reason, that can hold you accountable, and that is what we want for a thriving democracy.
Minister Todd, just before you go, budget debates start in the new week, and we've seen a pattern a lot of times in these budget debates. But what are you expecting going into these debates, of course, from government and from the opposition?
We have, good question. When you think about the People's Progressive Party civic in government, we have a track record that we can run on. The numbers don't lie. You can go back to 1992 when we took office, and you can see the progress that we have made in government, in education, in the health sector, in infrastructure, right? In creating a business environment. We had no business environment prior to 1992. We were able to provide to create an environment that would have allowed the business class to thrive. And in any well-functioning democracy, the engine is the business class, entrepreneurship. And we have been pushing that. And you would have seen the president on many occasions meeting with contractors, meeting with the business sector, meeting with the private sector leaders, encouraging them to take advantage of the policy space provided for them to innovate, to be creative, to take advantage of the opportunities, because you need to be competitive.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are going to create employment for the people of this country. Government doesn't create employment. We provide the policy space for the private sector to take advantage of it. And because we're operating in a global environment, we have to pull it together. Because as you know, we're part of a community, the CARICOM community, where there's free movement of skills, capital, there's a right of establishment, meaning that firms can move freely within the economic space, which is good for us too. But when you think about the budget, it's not only about the citizens, but it also caters for the business class to thrive, because they need to be competitive. We need to be able to move beyond having a comparative advantage to having a competitive advantage. That is going to create wealth. The prosperity comes with improving the quality of life and standard of living, but the wealth provides for that intergenerational equity that allows a family that never owned a home to own a home that they can hand over to their kids. They can extend it, they can mortgage it and open a business. The possibilities are endless. And we understand how to create the space for wealth. We don't get involved in business. We're policymakers. Our business is winning elections and delivering for the people. We're servants of the people. And I think we've been doing a fantastic job. The president's leadership has been outstanding. And you can see that from the feedback that you get from not only sections within communities, but even the private sector, and by extension, from the international community.
So I envision, Minister, that next week's budget debates will be extremely exciting, progressing and pushing ahead with government's agenda.
Exactly. It's going to be a learning experience for the opposition as well, because I think they can learn a thing or two from us. Things that they've never practiced and they've never thought of. They will be able to sit and be educated, because we want everyone to understand what we're doing with the numbers, which includes the opposition as well, because they're part of that second arm of government, which is the legislature, the parliament. So we welcome them. We welcome the healthy, I would imagine, interactions, because this is how we are able to keep the people informed. When they can see both sides of the house engage and articulate, in our case, being the incumbent, we will be able to demonstrate to the people of Guyana and to the opposition the progress we've made, the future of Guyana, because when the president speaks, you will always see the visionary leadership in him. We're not thinking about 2024 and 2025. We're thinking 2030 and beyond. Because the cycle, when you look at the cycle for development, things take some time to come in fruition. So we want to be able to ensure that people are active participants as well. And that is why we are doing so much outreaches, to ensure that the people understand what we're doing. Because as government, we have a responsibility to ensure that the people understand how we're allocating resources and how to bring, whether it's relief or benefits to them in the long term. In some cases, for example, those social relief programs, because we care, cash grants and the pension, and those are monies that are going straight into the pockets of the citizenry. When you think about the threshold being revised upwards to $100,000, that's $100,000 in your pocket. There's so many things you can do. People will be able to manage better their households. They can plan better. They have more disposable income, and their quality of life will improve, because the entire economy is being built out. So there's much more you can do. The work-life balance will improve. People will be able to take their families out for recreational activities, and it helps with building the culture. That one Guyana we're talking about, that is inclusive. That is what is important, and we're doing that in a way that is transparent, that is engaging, because we want the citizenry to engage with us. We want them to understand how we allocate resources. And we want them to understand also that when we allocate resources, it's done in a very equitable manner, that you get what you deserve. And in some cases, you get plus some. That is even better for some communities. But we are able to reach everyone, not only in the coastland, in the hinterland as well. We are able, and we've done it masterfully, we're able to provide resources, and we're able to serve everyone in the territory called Guyana.
Minister, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with us, discussing and breaking down budget 2024. Any closing remarks before we wrap up?
I think 2024 is going to be a very exciting year for Guyana. As you know, we have many activities here. Our leadership at the United Nations, our leadership in CARICOM, our bilateral engagements, in the case of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, our portfolio as a country has broadened and deepened. So we have a lot more engagements with bilateral partners, with regional partners, at the multilateral level. So we're expanding as a country. So naturally, as a ministry, we have to expand. One of the key initiatives that the president has mandated is a Foreign Service Institute, which we'll have a building dedicated to that. So we'll have training for our diplomatic staff throughout the calendar year at various levels so that we can make them fit for purpose. We want them to be competent because as diplomats, you're really marketers. You're selling your country. We have a very strong brand, but we need competent people to represent that brand because to keep the brand going, we have to have people to represent it. And I think we're doing a fairly good job under the leadership of the president. And I'm excited to be part of his administration and be part of this development drive.
Minister, thank you so much for spending some time
It's
with
been a
us.
pleasure.
You've heard from Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, the Honorable Hugh Todd. Continue to tune in to the National Communications Network as we bring you more updates and more discussions on Budget 2024. My name is Shaquan Gill, and I'm saying goodbye for now.